The front door slammed shut behind me, the sound ricocheting through the house like a gunshot. My wife, Elena, stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, her eyes wide with a fury that made my stomach lurch. The woman beside me, clutching her coat, her face pale under the dim porch light, shifted uncomfortably, her breath catching. Elena's scream tore through the air, raw and jagged, a sound I'd never heard from her in 12 years of marriage. "Who the hell is she, Mark?" she demanded, her voice trembling with rage and something deeper. Fear, maybe, or heartbreak. I raised my hands, palms out, as if I could push back the storm brewing in her eyes. "Elena, wait. Just, let me explain." My voice cracked, betraying the panic clawing at my chest. The truth was, I didn't know where to begin. The woman beside me, Sarah, stood silent, her gaze fixed on the floorboards, as if she could disappear into them. I wanted to tell Elena everything, to spill the secret that had been festering for months, but the words lodged in my throat like broken glass. It started 6 months ago, in the quiet hum of a coffee shop on 4th Street. I'd been working late, my laptop screen glowing with spreadsheets that blurred into nonsense. Sarah was there, sitting alone, her fingers tracing the rim of a chipped mug. She looked familiar, like a half-remembered dream, but I couldn't place her. When she glanced up and smiled, a small, hesitant curve of her lips, something in me stirred. Not desire, not exactly, but a pull, like a tide dragging me toward something I didn't understand. Talk. Just small things at first. The weather, the overpriced coffee, the way the city never slept. But those conversations stretched into hours, then weeks, then stolen moments I couldn't explain to Elena. Elena's eyes darted between me and Sarah now. Her hands clenched into fists at her sides. The kitchen smelled of burnt toast and the lavender candle she always lit when she was stressed. Her hair was pulled back messily, strands escaping like they were trying to flee. "Explain," she spat, her voice low and venomous. "You bring a stranger into our home at midnight, and you want to explain? What is this, Mark? Who is she?" I swallowed hard, the weight of her words pressing against my ribs. Sarah finally looked up, her green eyes catching the light, and I saw the flicker of guilt there, the same guilt that had been eating me alive. "She's not a stranger," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She's my sister." Elena's face went slack, the anger draining like water from a cracked vase. Her lips parted but no sound came out. The silence was worse than her scream, heavy with disbelief and something sharper. Betrayal, yes, but also confusion. "Your sister," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You don't have a sister." I wanted to reach for her, to bridge the chasm opening between us, but my feet felt rooted to the floor. The living room, with its faded blue couch and the coffee table cluttered with Elena's art magazines, seemed to shrink around us. The air was thick, suffocating, charged with the weight of secrets I'd kept for too long. "I didn't know either," I said, my throat tight. "Not until 6 months ago. Sarah found me. She's my half-sister. From my dad's side." The words felt foreign, like they belonged to someone else's life. My father had died when I was 10, a car accident that left more questions than answers. I'd grown up with fragments of him. Old photos, a leather jacket in the attic, stories Mom told when she'd had too much wine. But a sister. That was a bombshell I hadn't seen coming. Elena's gaze shifted to Sarah, searching her face for proof, for lies. Sarah stood straighter, her coat still clutched in her hands like a shield. "I didn't mean to cause trouble," she said softly, her voice steady but laced with regret. I needed to know him. To know my family." Elena's laugh was bitter, a sharp edge that cut through the room. "Family," she repeated, her eyes locking onto mine. "And you didn't tell me, Mark. 6 months, and you kept this from me? Why?" Her voice broke on the last word, and I saw the tears she was fighting to hold back. I wanted to tell her it wasn't about trust, that I hadn't meant to hurt her, but the truth was messier. I'd been scared of what Sarah's existence meant, scared of the questions she brought with her, scared of how Elena would react to a past I barely understood myself. "I didn't know how to tell you," I admitted, my voice raw. It felt unreal. Like if I said it out loud, it would change everything. I took a step toward her, but she flinched, and the movement was a knife to my gut. I was trying to protect you. Protect me. Elena's voice rose, sharp and incredulous. By lying. By sneaking around with her. She gestured at Sarah, who flinched as if struck. I saw you, Mark. Last week at the park. You were with her laughing like it was nothing. I thought. Her voice cracked, and she pressed a hand to her mouth, her shoulders shaking. I thought you were cheating. The words hit like a punch, stealing my breath. I remembered that day in the park. Sarah's nervous smile as she showed me an old photo of our dad, the way her hands shook when she talked about finding me after years of searching. I'd felt a strange mix of joy and unease, a connection I couldn't name. But to Elena, watching from a distance, it must have looked like something else entirely. I wasn't cheating, I said, my voice desperate. I swear, Elena. I didn't know how to bring her into our lives. I was trying to figure it out. Elena shook her head, her eyes glistening. You should have told me, she whispered. You should have trusted me. She turned away, her shoulders hunched, and the sight of her retreating figure felt like a thread snapping inside me. Sarah reached out, her hand brushing my arm, but I pulled away, my mind spiraling. The next hour was a blur of halting explanations, Sarah's quiet apologies, and Elena's silences, each one heavier than the last. We sat at the kitchen table, the clock ticking too loudly, the lavender candle flickering like it was mocking us. Sarah told her story. How she'd grown up with a stepfather, how she'd found a letter from my dad after her mother died, how she'd spent years tracking me down. Elena listened, her face unreadable, her fingers twisting the hem of her sweater. When Sarah left, promising to give us space, the house felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. Elena stood by the sink, staring out the window into the dark. I don't know if I can do this, she said finally, her voice so soft I almost missed it. I don't know if I can trust you again. The words were a slow bleed, each one cutting deeper than the last. I wanted to argue, to beg, to promise I'd make it right, but the truth was I'd broken something between us, something fragile and irreplaceable. I'd kept Sarah a secret not because I didn't trust Elena, but because I didn't trust myself, didn't trust the man I was becoming, caught between a past I didn't know and a future I couldn't lose. As I stood there, watching Elena's reflection in the window, I realized the real betrayal wasn't Sarah's existence. It was the silence I'd chosen, the distance I'd let grow. And now, with the truth laid bare, I wasn't sure if love would be enough to bridge the gap I'd created.